Hi there, everyone. Welcome to DMing the World. Today we're going to be starting a new video series around Dragonbane, the new role-playing game from Free League Press. It's been out for a few months now, and we did a whole review of Dragonbane over on our website, so please go check that out. But one of the aspects of the starter set that came with Dragonbane is a solo game. And we're going to play through that, show you how Dragonbane works, show you how a solo game works, and why solo games are actually fun. We're going to be using the Foundry module that Free League put out that you can purchase off their website and install into a Foundry server. It's very well done. Everything is automated and allows you to quickly keep things rolling if you are running this for your friends or even for yourself on a solo game. Today, on this first video, we're probably just going to be doing a character creation, walk through the steps to create a character, and get that character set up for our solo game, which will kick off on the next video. This will also give us the opportunity to talk about some of the basics around a player character. What are the stats? What are the skills? What are the roles that are made when you are playing a character? So we're going to kick things off here just by creating a new blank character sheet. So the way we do that is we just, in Foundry, if you're not familiar with Foundry, everything's sort of drag and drop, a very object-oriented system. So we're just going to create an actor, which is what we call any of our entities that are going to be on the map. For now, we're just going to leave this name blank. We'll come back and give it a name towards the end of it. All right, so here's the basic character sheet. If you were to pick up the starter set, you would find very similar blank character sheet in the starter set. They do have this kind of divided into different areas. There's your main page here, which has all of your stats, all of your skills, your abilities, things like that that are very quick reference. But you can also go a little bit deeper in, get the full skill list, and we'll talk about these as we're creating the character. This would be where all of your abilities are as a character. What are the sort of special abilities that you have? Your inventory, and we'll go through that and picking out our inventory as we go along. And then lastly, your background. And notice on the background, there's a couple of categories here. At the top, there is kin, there's profession, and there's age. Kin is the Dragonbane term for that background that makes you you. There's also profession. Profession is similar to, like, say, class in Dungeons and Dragons. What do you as a character do? And we'll look at those different professions. They're a little bit different. There's some unique ones to Dragonbane that you're not going to see in something like D&D. And then age actually comes into play here. You can actually play a young character, an adult character, or an old character. And depending on what age you pick determines, how many skills do you know? How experienced are you? How much living have you done to pick up those extra skills? So kind of interesting. You can actually, play the new young adventurer just setting out in the world, or you could play the, the wise old wizard with the long beard that's been around for hundreds of years. You really do have that flexibility in this game. And then the other things, weaknesses, we'll talk about a weakness. We'll probably pick one for our character, and then appearance as well. And then the notes section is just obviously a notes section. So going back over here to the main page, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just open up the rule book for Dragonbane to this section about your player character. And notice over here on the left-hand side, it's kind of divided out into these different sections. These are actually the steps that you will need to take to create your character. So we'll start with our kin. We'll actually jump down to attributes, and you'll see why when we do that. But just having made several characters with Dragonbane, I think it goes a little bit better if you pick your attributes before you pick your profession. And then we'll go through the profession, we'll talk about the age and the skills, the derived ratings, and finish up with gear and appearance. I'm going to move this over so we can see our character sheet. And we're going to start off with kin. Now, Dragonbane has some of the usual fantasy kin that you would expect. They have humans and halflings and dwarves and elves. Those are all very similar to what you would find in another role-playing game. But there are two unique kin in the base set of Dragonbane. And the first of those is the mallard. Mallards are duck people. They are effectively, the Carl Barks, DuckTales duck person. They have some abilities that come with them. They are ill-tempered, which is perfect for if you're trying to recreate that sort of Donald Duck style character, where basically if they're trying to do something, they get angry about it and then they get a chance to redo it, but now they're angry when they do it. And then also web feet. They can just swim well. They are smaller, so their movement is a little bit less than, say, a human. But they're a fun character. You can, again, go over to the Deming the World website, go look at our review of it, kind of read about some of the background as to how the mallards ended up in Dragonbane. Wolfkin are wolf people. They are not lycanthropes. They're not werewolves. They are just naturally wolf people. They combine both brawn and brains. Wolfkin have this hunting instincts ability where basically it's almost sort of like a hunter's mark in D&D, where you can designate a creature in sight or a creature that you can catch the scent of as your prey, and then you can follow the scent of that prey for a full day and spend a willpower point, which we'll talk about willpower points in a little bit, to gain a boon for attacking that prey. Boons are advantage in this. So if you're familiar with D&D 5th edition, you'll know advantage and disadvantage. Dragonbane has that as well. They're just called boons and banes instead. So a boon lets you roll 2 dice. The outcome, you're going to pick the better of the 2, right? For a boon, or you're going to pick the worse of the 2 for a bane. So I think for this character, I feel like we have to make a mallard, because I just love the fact that we have mallards in a role-playing game. We have duck people in a role-playing game. It's just too much fun. I grew up with DuckTales as a kid, and my kids love DuckTales, the new version, so I think we've got to make a mallard. So I'm going to grab this and drag it over here. Like I said, everything in Foundry is very object-oriented. It's very drag and drop. So when you're creating your character, that's what you're going to do. You're going to take your kin, your class, whatever. You're just going to drag it onto your character sheet, and it automatically adds all of that in. So you saw when I did that, it updated the kin to Mallard. It also added those abilities we talked about in there, and updated my movement as well. So we've got a Mallard. And then we're going to move down. We're actually going to do attributes instead, because they do have a bearing on your class. So we want to make sure we've got the best attributes for the class that we want to play. Now, in Dragonbane, the recommended way that you roll is that you roll 4d6 and keep the 3 highest. You're going to drop that lowest one, very similar to the way it is in Dungeons and Dragons. Now, the difference here is that in Dragonbane, you're going to just go right down the list. You're going to roll your strength first, then your con, your agility, your intelligence, your willpower, and your charisma in direct order. But once you have all of those done, you can swap 2 of those scores to make sure you got a higher score. And depending on what class we pick or what profession we pick, we're going to want to make sure that we've got our best attribute in that slot. A couple notes on attributes. Notice I said agility and willpower instead of dexterity and wisdom. That's just a terminology difference. They basically are the same thing. They act the same way. Your agility is how your speed, your fine motor skills, your body control, the 5th edition definition of dexterity for the most part. And then willpower is your self-discipline and your focus. And it's very much about your mental control, not necessarily your acuity. I can say that's under intelligence. Your ability to reason and remember things and puzzle things out, that is intelligence. But your willpower is your ability to focus. Other than that, everything else is kind of the same. Note that there are some conditions under these as well. We'll talk about those more as they come into play. But note, earlier I said when you, as a Mallard, you take that ill-tempered, you can get a reroll on something, but you become angry about it. You literally get the angry condition under your intelligence there. So it will make sense as we go along. So we're just going to roll our attributes here. So I'm going to close this for now, and let's get some dice rolling. So for our strength, we have a 10. For our con, we have a 10. For our agility, we have a 13. For our intelligence, an 18. For our willpower, a 16. And for our charisma, an 11. So this is definitely a very intellectual character, right? They are highly intelligent. They also have a lot of willpower. This is going to be a character that is going to talk their way or puzzle their way out of a situation and not fight their way out of a situation, I think. So here's our list of professions. Again, some of these are going to look like D&D classes. There's a bard, there's a fighter, the hunter is like a ranger, there's a mage, there's a thief. But there are some other ones in here that are unique to this game as well. The first one is the artisan. So this is basically the adventuring blacksmith or armorer. They are still a fighter. They have skills with weapons and can handle themselves in a fight, but they also travel around and fix things or make things. And so kind of a unique profession there. They do have a heroic ability that lets them repair things better. All of your equipment can be damaged, and so having an artisan in a party is useful. But they are very strength based, and I don't think we need that for this character. There's the bard, which is very much like a standard D&D bard. They are a performer. They can encourage and kind of buff up their companions. They do know things, but their key attribute is charisma. So it's very much about their performance more than anything, their ability to tell a story or sing a song. So that's a possibility for this character. Probably not a fighter, unless we move some stats around. Remember, we can move stats around. A hunter, possibly. Their key attribute is agility, so our agility is not bad. It's a 13. We might be able to move things around there and get a higher agility there. A knight, probably not a knight. Their key attribute is a strength, unless we really move things around. We probably wouldn't be best with a knight, but a knight in this game is like a paladin, but without the divine powers. They are still a very charismatic character. They have an oath. They protect their companions. They just don't have that divine magic. Mages, we could definitely make a mage here. Their key attribute is actually willpower. And not intelligence. That seems a little different from D&D. And the reason why is because you're going to use your willpower points, which are derived from your willpower attribute, to cast your spells. So you want that willpower to be high. And you break magic down into a couple of different areas here: animism, elementalism, mentalism, and depending on which of those you choose to specialize in, you get to pick different skills from that. So that's a possibility as well. We could just go with a straight mage. The mariner is like a seafaring ranger. They have a lot of similar skills, but they are more accustomed to being on a ship. Given that we're going to be doing this solo game that is out of the box set, I've already looked at that. I kind of know the background of what it is. It is in a landlocked area. Probably not going to play a mariner. We also, at the moment, our agility is not the best. There's a merchant. A merchant's a possibility. They're charisma based. So these are the face of the party, right? They are the ones who are going to be making negotiations and deals and things like that. So kind of the role that sometimes a bard plays, but divided out a little bit more. And then there's also the scholar. The scholar is also sometimes in, say, D&D, the role that the bard or the mage plays. They're the guy that knows everything. Intelligence is their highest attribute, their key attribute. So obviously intelligence is going to be fantastic for this character. Our 18 intelligence would work great with this. And they know a lot about the things around them. They go adventuring to gather knowledge and discover the answers to mysteries. So possibly a scholar here for this character. And then there's the thief, agility based. Their heroic ability is backstabbing. Very much your typical D&D rogue, out of the box D&D rogue subclass thief. So looking at all of those, I'm really interested in the scholar. I think that the scholar is going to be our best option. We can keep that 18 intelligence where it is, and then we can maybe move these around. However, I like having a 16 in willpower. It's going to give us a lot of willpower points to use on abilities. But our hit points are based on what your constitution score is. So note down here, willpower points, 16. We have 16 will. That's because it's the same number. And the same goes for hit points. Whatever your constitution number is, that is how many hit points you have. So I think I would like to move. Remember, we can swap 2. So I think I would like to swap the constitution and the agility. So we're going to make constitution a 13, and we're going to make agility a 10. And then we're going to add the scholar to our character. Okay. So the scholar has been added to the profession. So we can go look at the intuition ability over here on their character sheet. So intuition. When faced with a difficult decision, you can activate this ability to ask a question directly to the GM and receive a helpful answer. The answer represents your vast general knowledge and should only aid your decision making, not reveal everything there is to know. So I think for this, the way, obviously we're going to be doing a solo game, we'll have to think about how we're going to use our intuition ability in a solo game where the GM is also the player. But I think we can do that. Next up, as we're going down the list on creating your character, is age. So let's go look at ages. Now, when I was walking through the character sheet, I mentioned you could play really kind of any age category. You could be a young adventurer just setting out. You could play an old sage or an old veteran that has been out on the road for years. And really, either way it works, it just that has an effect on what you get starting out. Young characters have less skills, but they get bonuses to their agility and constitution. Old characters have more skills, but they get penalties to their strength, agility, and constitution, but their intelligence and willpower go up. We can roll randomly here. Let's just roll randomly and see what we get. Okay, a 2. So a young character. I think that's great. Let's make him young, just starting out, getting his webbed feet underneath him. We will make a young character with some bonuses to attributes, but less skills. So note, and when I made that change, our constitution automatically went up, our agility automatically went up, so we now have 14 hit points. That actually works out great. Next up are the derived ratings. If you were doing this on pencil and paper, you'd have to do this very manually. You don't have to do that with Foundry. It does it all for you, but we're going to walk through it real quick in case you're doing this on your own and you're using the pencil and paper. First off, your movement is determined by your kin. So because I'm a mallard, I'm a duck person, I'm short, got little stubby webbed feet and legs. My movement base starts out as an 8, the same as a halfling or a dwarf. And then depending on what your agility is, you get a modifier to that. My agility is an 11, so 10 through 12, there's really no change there. But if I'd had a better agility, say a 13, then I would have got a +2 to my movement. Movement mostly comes into play in combat. It doesn't necessarily come into play when you're doing theater of the mind, just narrative. But if we get into combat, which I'm not sure the character needs to be in combat, but we will, that will come to play there. That, by the way, also is in meters, just for your awareness. This is a European game. It's on the metric system, so everything's counted out nice and easy. Next, we would look at our damage bonuses. Again, if you have more of a combat-oriented character and you've got a higher strength or agility, you would get a bonus to the damage you do with weapons. So for strength-based weapons, melee weapons, things like that, you would, if you had say a 13 on strength, you would get a +D4 whenever you roll damage. And if you have a higher agility, say like a 17 agility, and you fire a bow, you would get a +D6 to the damage on that. Hit points and willpower, we already talked about those. They're based on whatever your constitution and willpower are. And that's it for derived ratings. Next up are the skills. In Dragonbane, everything has a base chance on it. And this is where we need to take a moment and talk about the way that the dice rolls work in Dragonbane. Dragonbane is backwards from 5th edition. In 5th edition, D&D, you want to roll high, right? A 20 is a critical success in 5th edition rules. In Dragonbane, you want to roll low. A 1 is a critical success. That is called a dragon. And if you roll a 20, that is a critical failure. That is a demon. So the original name for this was Drakar Och Demonar, dragons and demons. So that's where that comes from. So we want to get a dragon whenever possible. We want to roll a 1. And so that means that all of our target numbers, our DCs, if you're going by 5th edition terms, we're going to be rolling under those numbers. So if I go over here to my skills, now that we've populated all of the attributes, Foundry has done the work for me and kind of already put in my base chances on these. So if I want to say, do a barrel roll, do a backflip, I've got to, on a D20, I've got to roll under a 5 to be successful at that. Because I'm not great at that. My agility is only an 11. But if I want to recognize another language that's being spoken or read that language, I have to get under, currently I have to get under a 7 to know that. So I have a better chance with intelligence because my intelligence is high. When you pick your profession, you also get to have certain skills that you are proficient in. So we're going to go back to our profession, our scholar, and we're going to look at those skills. As a young adventurer, I get 6 skills chosen from my profession, and then 2 other skills that I happen to be proficient in. So let's pick our 6 that are from the profession first, and then we'll come back to the other 2. So my options for these are, and you can see that the ones that are in bold on the character sheet are my profession skills. So I can be proficient in awareness, beast lore, bushcraft, evade, healing, languages, myths and legends, and spot hidden. Now, being proficient means I get to double that number. So if I choose to be proficient in, say, myths and legends, which I feel like this character probably needs to be, I'm just going to double that. Now I just need to roll under a 14 on a d20 to be successful at that. Much better. So that's our first one. We have 5 more. I think we also probably need to know languages. We're going to be delving into dungeons and trying to figure out the ancient riddles and puzzles down there. We're going to need to know some languages. Since we are by ourselves, I think healing is going to be important. I need to know how to patch myself up in the event that I do accidentally get into combat. Evasion is going to be very important because in Dragonbane, you actually dodge attacks. You actually try to evade attacks. Your armor reduces damage. It doesn't, it's not a hit number. So I think being able to dodge out of a situation might be good. So that gets us 4. Let's see, what are my other intelligences? Awareness, beast lore, bushcraft, and spot hidden. Awareness is your ability to just note something is going on around you. So it's useful for if you're about to be ambushed, to be aware that's going to happen. Beast lore is, what do you know about all the strange creatures you might encounter? Bushcraft is survival. If you need to set a camp or find your way on a map, you roll bushcraft for that. Spot hidden is the investigation check for Dragonbane. So if we're searching for hidden doors or looking for traps, spot hidden is going to be useful there. So I think that we probably need spot hidden. That's 5. I really think as a solo adventurer, I need to have awareness. Don't want to be snuck up on. So there we go. That's my 6 for my profession. Let's look at our gear real fast. And what are the options that might come with gear? Staffs, knives, short swords. So maybe we'll save 1 skill choice for whatever kind of weapon we end up with, because we're going to roll to see what gear we start with here in a second. So I think my other option, I think I'd like to go with sneaking. I want this character to be able to not get spotted, if at all possible. Really kind of play up on that idea that we're going to avoid combat whenever possible. To get that last skill, I'm going to go ahead and do the gear and then see what we get, and then that will determine what our last skill is, our weapon skill. Okay. So we rolled a 6. We get all of these items here, and note that Foundry puts these into the chat, so you can just pull these off of here. Again, this is just drag and drop. So a short sword, bandages, a sleeping poison, a sleeping fur, a lantern, lamp oil, flint and tinder, and then we get 1 field ration, and we get 2 silver. So we've spent all of our money on our gear. Now, I want to point something out here to you guys. Note up here that this says my max encumbrance is 5. That's based on what my strength is. But everything that I currently own, I'm over my weight limit. That does come into play in Dragonbane. Encumbrance is important because there are penalties if you are encumbered to your ability to move around and do things and fight. So not thrilled about that. So I need to find a way to lighten my load already. Tiny items, by the way, don't count against your encumbrance. So my flint and tinder doesn't count against my encumbrance. Also, anything that you have equipped does not count against you. So my short sword does not count against my weight limit. If it wasn't equipped, if I've just dropped it over into my inventory, then it would. I need my lantern, and I need a lamp. I need the oil for my lantern, so I can't get rid of those. Having bandages is going to be good since I can heal myself. A sleeping fur will prevent you from having a bane on your bushcraft rolls if you're having to make camp. You do have to eat. I don't have bushcraft, so my ability to hunt is not going to be great. So having that 1 field ration is going to be useful. I hate to say it, but I think I'm going to drop my sleeping poison and not start with that. That's too bad. Because those are pretty cool, but that lightens my load. We now know what our one weapon is, and it's a short sword. So we can be proficient in swords. Not gonna be great at it. It's a 50-50 chance to hit something, but better than nothing. And that is it for skills and gear. The next thing that we need to do is our heroic abilities. We have already written down what our heroic abilities from our kin are. That's our ill-tempered, our webbed feet, and our intuition, determined by your profession. However, in a solo game, we do get one additional heroic ability. So I'm going to open the solo game rules. Go here to your solo player character. So you have two options. You can pick one of these as a solo player, just to give you a little bit of an extra advantage to be a solo player. You can choose to be an army of one, which means that if you are fighting, you get basically 2 actions per round. Or if you are a sole survivor, then you can push a roll without suffering a condition. Now, what this means is I can spend 3 of my willpower points. So again, note I have 16 willpower, and I can push a roll without suffering a condition. Pushing is an optional rule. If you fail an attempt at something, you can get a reroll. You can try again, but in doing so, you exert yourself to do that. And you do that by taking one of the conditions under the abilities. So for example, if I was trying to climb a wall and using my strength and I failed at it, I could push that roll and become exhausted, but I would get a chance to climb that again. What Soul Survivor gives us then is the ability to spend 3 willpower points and push that roll without taking the condition. So that's very useful for a solo character. They get a chance to re-roll, up to, for this character, up to 5 times before they can't do that and have to start taking conditions. So I think we're going to take that instead. Having the ability to re-roll skill checks, I think is going to come in really handy for this character. Next up would be optional rule weakness. I think we definitely need to do this. The way that a weakness works, again, this is an optional rule, but if you role play according to your weakness, then at the end of every session, you have an opportunity to advance your character 1 additional time. And we'll get into advancement later, but for the purposes of this solo game, I think to give us a direction for how we're going to be playing it, I think we definitely need to have a weakness. Now, we can roll randomly here. However, I want to look and see what our options are first, to see if anything kind of fits with this high intelligence, high willpower, kind of low charisma character. I really like the craving knowledge one. I think the best. I think that fits this character really well. I think that's something we're going to be able to role play easily as a solo character. We've done our gear. We've talked about encumbrance. Lastly, appearance. What are just some physical character traits that set this character apart? We don't have to go into a lot of detail here. We can just roll a couple of these and just see what they've got. So they start off, they're filthy. Okay? Well, we've used all of our money on adventuring gear, so maybe we can't afford a bath currently. Maybe that'll change. Let's roll another one. Oh, an ugly scar across our cheek. That's because we got into a fight we shouldn't have, right? That is it. That is how we make a character in Dragonbane. The last thing we need to do is give them a name. I have a D&D character that I've played for years whose name is Reese of Blackmoors. I think we're going to go with a play on that. Reese of Quackmoors. So that will be the character that we'll be playing throughout this solo campaign, Reese of Quackmoors. I'll put together some artwork for that, and we'll add that to the character sheet. And next time we will start our game. We'll begin with maybe a session 0 to kind of get things started. How did this character get to the actual adventure? So we'll go through some of just the basics of a solo game. And then we'll wrap up with that, and then we'll start the actual campaign. So thanks for watching. Thanks. If this has interested you in Dragonbane, definitely go check out our review over at dmingtheworld.com. You can also click our affiliate link there to take you to where you can purchase the game as well, but you can also find it on Free League Press's website. The Foundry module that you're seeing here is also available there. You can also, of course, find Dragonbane at any of your local game stores. Definitely go check it out. It's a really cool game. Highly recommend it. All right, thanks everybody, and we will see you next time.